Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2023, and today I want to talk to you all about the importance of being yourself. I haven't seen myself in the longest time, and that's because I haven't been myself. I've been everybody else's dream, everybody else's fantasy. And the thing about being everybody else's fantasy and the subject matter of their imagination is that you rarely ever see yourself. You see glimpses of yourself reflected in other people's desires, but yet and still, that's not you. That's not you. That's just projections of their own wants and desires. And you feel good initially because you feel wanted, you feel accepted, you feel included. And so that's what you want. You want to be liked. There are two basic things that every human being wants, and that's to be right and to be liked. And so oftentimes, you settle. You find yourself settling for being the object of everybody else's desire. And that makes you feel good. It gives you a quick hit of validation, but that's not the authentic you. That's just you being what everybody else wants and getting that false acceptance, that false validation. Because the thing is, when you stop being that person, when you actually start coming into your own skin, you start to realize that their validation, their acceptance was not genuine, but rather just a matter of you doing what they wanted you to do. They liked the submissive you, the docile you, the you that was compliant, the you that was, I guess, under their finger, subject to their every whim. And I think that, it's really important for us to find our own identity. It's like Audre Lorde says, if you don't define yourself for yourself, you will be crunched into other people's fantasies and eaten alive. And that is so true. People will try to stuff you in a box of their own desire, and they will never release you. And you have to fight, kick, claw, and scream to get out of that box. And oftentimes it's a bloody scene. And I'm being very, very dramatic. I'm using a lot of hyperbole here. Because it's the truth. It's the truth. You gotta claw your way out of their fantasy. And oftentimes it will result in discord, disharmony. They'll be very angry with you. They will start yelling. And also they'll feel as though you lied to them about who you were. And the truth is you did lie. You did misrepresent yourself. We oftentimes misrepresent ourselves for that cheap hit of validation, for that acceptance. And it feels good. It feels so good. And we want it to continue, but it's not being true to us. We're not being authentically ourselves, and then we're wondering why we don't see ourselves reflected in the world. It's because we're so busy being everybody else's desire, everybody else's fantasy, living in everybody else's imagination. I've realized something that I am not proud to admit, but I have been living in everybody else's mind. Everybody else's mind, caring so much about everybody else's opinions and everybody else's feelings. But you know something? I've not once really genuinely sat within myself and just cared about my mind, just really sitting with myself until recently. I would say recently I've been having a lot of time to just sit with myself, and it feels good to sit within yourself because you really, really, really start to realize the ways in which you betrayed yourself. A lot of stuff is dredged up from out of those deep, murky waters that can be very hard to reckon with. You're pulling those years of people pleasing and you're dredging those years out of this murky sea trying to clean up your water because for so long it's been muddied and dirtied by this people pleasing, by always trying to make sure everybody else is good and everybody else is okay, even at the expense of your own needs. And that's what's creating turmoil. You know, um, I realized I was sitting at my morning meeting today with my coworkers, and one of the coworkers brought up the fact that I was a person that always tried to keep the peace. And they were right. But at what cost? At the cost of my own desires, my own wants, at the cost of my own true identity. I'm always trying to harmonize and blend and make sure that everything is cool and smooth over those ruffled feathers and always try to make, no, you can't do that. As I've learned, always trying to keep the peace starts a war inside of you. If you're always trying to make sure that everything's good, you're not getting to the heart of the matter. Conflict oftentimes will get to the heart and the truth of the matter so that way it can be dealt with. If there is no conflict, there is no progress. I'll say that again. If there is no conflict, there is no progress. Because if you're always smiling and acting as if everything is okay, you're not really getting to the heart of the matter. You're not really addressing those hidden resentments that tend to build up over time, and those resentments aren't going anywhere. You know? What ends up happening is if you don't address those resentments, they're going to fester and build and grow into full-blown hatred. And so you need conflict, I'm starting to realize, in order to progress. Conflict has its function and its purpose. And always keeping the peace can derail that purpose. And so I encourage people to really try, especially people pleasers. Oftentimes, a trauma response for people pleasers is fawning. They tend to just go along just to get along. They want to make sure everybody's good. They want to people please. I would say, we fawn. We fawn and we try to make sure everybody's good. We try to make sure that everything is okay. But no, that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of emotional baggage that we carry for other people. That is their responsibility. We need to just shed those bags. No, I'm not carrying that bag no more. I'm shedding that bag. That's your responsibility. If there is discord and disharmony and there's no pretty ribbon of resolution at the end of it, well, just gonna have to let it be ugly. Let it be ugly. Let it be disastrous. Let it fall apart. Because sometimes things have to fall apart in order for things to come together. And so you have to be willing to sit with your own discomfort and letting that happen and really get to the heart of the matter on why you feel the need to take responsibility for everybody else. Where did you learn that from? What family dynamic did you learn that from? Was there someone in your family that required you to always be the heavy lifter, the one to always take care of the family? Where did you learn how to put your needs on the back burner? Where did you learn how to put yourself on the shelf? Where did you learn that it was okay to do that at the expense of your own needs, wants, and desires? If you trace back, oftentimes our first relationships with our caregivers, they provided the blueprint. They encoded within us this need to people please. We were programmed and conditioned to always take care of everybody else's needs at the expense of our own truth. So my thing is this: once you find out the source, you have to unpack that trash. You have to unpack all those messages, all that programming, that hard wiring inside your head. You have to just, it's kind of like those Christmas lights that you have to unravel by December. Basically, it's the same thing. You have to unravel all that junk, all that hard wiring, and you have to begin to create new pathways. And that's hard work. That is hard work. This business of healing is hard work. It is a business, and I deliberately call it a business because it requires investment. It is costly. It is oftentimes taxing, but it's necessary. This business of healing is necessary. We must untangle all these crazy thoughts and these tendencies that we have to try and people please and make sure everybody else is okay. No, We have got to come back to our own mind. You know, if you don't see yourself represented within the spaces that you occupy, chances are you're people pleasing and you're always trying to take care of everybody else, and you're not living enough in your own head, in your own mind, in your own body. You know, oftentimes there's this dysregulation that happens because we're not living our truth. We're not living our authentic self. We're not living as our authentic self. And so many of us are constructs. We're what everybody else wants us to be. But who are we outside of the roles that we occupy? And I asked my intern this question too. I asked her, who are you outside of the roles that you occupy? Me, I'm son, uncle, employee. I'm so many different things, but outside of those roles, who am I? If by any chance I'm no longer one of those roles, do I still have value as a person? Is my life still valuable? And the answer is yes. Your life is valuable. There's so many people, especially men, sometimes once they retire, they have this feeling of confusion. They feel lost. They don't know what's next. And that's because they base so much of their identity on what they are, what they do, as opposed to who they are. You know, everything is what they do, what they can give, what they can do for other people. But what are you outside of the things you do for others? Who are you outside of the roles that you occupy? You know? And that's when you have to really, really examine who you are and dig deep and sit with yourself. You know? And that's no easy task. But it is necessary because identity is a strange and brutal mistress in the sense that it constantly, every time you think you know yourself, you're constantly being reintroduced to new versions of yourself. Every time you think you know yourself, you are constantly being reintroduced to new versions of yourself. And that right there is so painstakingly true. Every time you think, I got this on lock, I'm confident, I got this, you're always being thrust into some new experience that makes you question what you know, who you are. And I guess that's life. Life is about constantly experiencing certain things and certain experiences that make us question so many things. And I guess in a good way, in a way that's a good thing, you know? But I encourage everybody to really, really sit with themselves. Really just enjoy you. Really just understand you. You know, you're your first love when you think about it. You fought hard to get into this world from birth. You've been with you the longest. So you really are your first love, and so you need to act like it. Stop betraying your love. You know, so many people wonder why other people betray them. Well, guess what? You provide the blueprint. You give them the example on how to treat you by how you treat you. We are always a people that are self-betraying for the sake of love, for the sake of being good people, for the sake of being spiritual. But you know something? We need to relearn how to love ourselves so that way we keep our cup full, so that way we can love authentically and not from a place of obligation or not from a place of guilt, you know, or as though it's compulsory. We need to love genuinely. And so to do that, you have to love and fill your own cup up and keep it full. Keep it full and do not allow anyone to deplete it. You have to protect your cup, guard your cup. Put 2 sentinels around your cup, 2 guards. Because if you don't, people will come to your cup, drink you all up. Just drink you all up till there's nothing left. There's nothing left except regret at the bottom of that cup. Anytime you let somebody come along and drink you up, there's nothing left but regret at the bottom of that cup. So before you regret people, before you resent other people, keep your cup full. Begin to know yourself. And so I hope this video was very helpful. If you have any comments, things you want to share, by all means, I'm here to listen. I love y'all. Peace.